Well, I'm very happy to be here this morning. Those of you who sat closer to the front, you probably got a couple of things that I want to make sure that I talk about a little bit. First off, there's a little package like this. This is what I call the answer book. I'm going to answer a bunch of questions because I know you get to ask me questions. So I'm going to start off with a few questions for you that's got the answer book in there. Some of you would have got some screensavers here that go and polish the nice little fingerprints off your iPad or your cell phone. So there's some of these that are available as well. But I want to start off before I got into my presentation in detail to kind of set the context for you. I want this to be useful to you. So, first off, I want you to be able to help me understand oil. What comes from oil? And there's some easy answers and some harder answers. So, just start blurting them out. You don't have to put up your hands. I want to hear. Gasoline. Somebody drove here in a car or a bus today? Yeah. Petroleum. What else? Yep, you on the end. Didn't say anything. Go ahead. Some more. Plastic. Oh, okay. That little plastic cellophane that's on the outside, that comes from oil. Guess what? Your iPhone, all the plastic in there comes from oil as well. Look around this room. What else could come around in this room could come from oil? I didn't quite hear. I heard. How about the paint on the floor? Yeah, paint on the floor. Okay. What about the makeup that all the guys are wearing? Especially that wonderful shade of lipstick. Yeah. No, that comes from oil products as well. What else? The lights. What? Rubber. Yeah, all the tires. All the rubber that's on the floor here, that all comes from oil as well. The rubber that's outside this extension cord that I'm standing on. So there's about, the last look they looked, there's about 6,000 products that come from oil. Most people think when they think of oil, it's just gasoline that goes in our car or oil that keeps it going from that perspective or diesel fuel. I fly around the world an awful lot. So yeah, of course there's jet fuel, but inside those planes, they're getting lighter and lighter and they're using more and more high-density plastics and composites and everything else in there as well. It all comes from oil products. So it all comes from that one substance. So those of you who are lucky enough to get the answer book, inside that answer book, make sure I got a copy of it here. Oh, here it is. There's a little envelope of oil sands, what Dr. Weber talked about. So some of your science classes may want to do this, and I often tell it to people, but I really don't want to do it in the hotel room. If you take this oil sand, this is really good oil sand, so it's got about 14 or 15% oil in it, and the rest is sand and clay and dirt. Because the oil sands was oil, okay, it was just organic material like trees and plants and dinosaurs and everything else that got laid down and got crushed by the mountains as they came up. And then all of the light ends, all the light gases and everything else evaporated off because it was close to the surface, and it left us with this heavy oil, and it was laid down on a beach. Of course, the sand was there, and it got mixed with all the sand. So that's what this is. If you take this, and you put it into a beaker, and put boiling water on it, and stir it up, guess what happens? The oil floats to the top, the water goes to the middle, and the sand drops down to the bottom. Just like what happens if you let a bottle of Italian salad dressing sit for a while. And you have to shake it up, and then if you let it sit, you can see all the vegetables and everything go to the bottom. You can see the kind of olive oil, in that case, move up to the top. That's really how they separate the oil from other oil sands. So you might want to try it. It's a little bit more complicated when you're starting to do up to 350,000 barrels a day. This is probably 2 milliliters that comes out of this. But it's the same process. It's not that complicated. So I gave you the answer book. Now's my chance to answer a few more questions. Why do I have all of these silly hockey pucks lined up at the front of the stage? We're Canadian. Good answer. Woohoo! I was talking to Dr. Weber's brother, and he said, or no, it was Grant actually, up on the booth up there, and he said, I get a hockey stick, I could shoot him out into the crowd. Unfortunately, we don't have that meshing that's supposed to protect everybody. Well, that little sign that goes around says, watch for flying pucks at the hockey games. Why do I have them here? It's in the answer book. Okay, go ahead. That's exactly right. Thank you for reading the answer book. At 10 degrees Celsius, not minus 10 degrees like it is outside today, but at plus 10 degrees, the oil, or the bitumen as it's called, is as hard as a hockey puck. So I got a bunch of hockey pucks for you to come and get afterwards, but that's what you're trying to get out of the ground and convert into all those things that we just talked about. Now that's got a little bit of science associated with it, and we'll talk about a little bit of science too. But that's why I have hockey pucks up here. So, you can come get a hockey puck afterwards, or 2 or 3. Do you have a school hockey team? Not yet? Okay, that's got to be coming in the next year's curriculum, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, so let us go through and let's talk a little bit about the oil sands. Dr. Weber asked me to talk about what benefits it brings to Canada. So we want to know what opportunities you have when you graduate from here to work in this kind of area, but I want to talk about what it means to all of Canada. And more importantly, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to the world. In the last few months, as you know, I started working for a company. Then I worked for the government, and I went there for 2 years, and I stayed for 9 because I liked it so much. And that's the honest truth. It was working with Dr. Weber and a bunch of other people. I got lots of things to do when I was with the government. And now I work for an association of companies that kind of talks to government and talks to companies in between there. And it's just over 100 companies, so I got lots of bosses, but it gives me a lot of chance to move around. So I've been in Norway in November, and then just a month ago I was in 4 days in Taiwan, 4 days in Beijing, and then 4 days in Washington, and then back here. And all of that was because Canada has the oil sands that the world is looking at. So we're very lucky that we have lots of it, but they also want to know, can it be developed in a way that's environmentally responsible? We have a duty as Canada to be able to show that we have these resources, but we are ahead of many countries in the world where we can actually show that. So today, the development of the oil sands requires these 4 things. It brings energy security to us. It actually needs access to the markets, and you've probably heard lots of debates of all the pipelines that are out there and rail cars and everything else. I want to talk about that a bit. I want to talk about the environmental aspects of this, because that's lots in the news right now, and you have lots of questions on it. And of course, I want to talk about the benefits and the jobs that brings. But because your teachers got a hold of me beforehand, I kind of changed it so that it also talks about science and math and social and English, because we need all of those kinds of things to be able to do this. You didn't even